Feels good. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi. Locked On Cardinals, Thursday night, they get a W. It was weird. It was ugly. It was pretty. It was sexy. It was scary. It was fun. It was long as all get out. That game, it feels like that game started 6 weeks ago. But when all said and done, the Arizona Cardinals get their first home win in 364 long-ass days. I'm your host, Alex Clancy. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. The Cardinals put up a 40-burger for the first time since Cliff Kingsbury's been head coach. They win 42-34. The game wasn't that close. There were a lot of points scored in very weird ways the entire game. You know, like, this was a fantasy football just terror. You know, you had Keaontay Ingram score a rushing touchdown. You had Rashid Shaheed score a huge 53-yard touchdown to kick off the game. You know, you had Juwan Johnson score a couple touchdowns. It was just a weird game, but the Cardinals get a victory. They move to 3-4, and you take it. So now you have a mini bye. You have 10 days between now and week 8 going to Minnesota to play the Vikings, one of the better teams through the first 6 weeks of the NFL season in 2022. I'm going to break this all down, okay? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of good. There's some weird. There's some not so good stuff that we need to revisit. May not do it so much today, but it's going to be a talking point with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury constantly yelling at each other on the sidelines. This is the second time this year we've seen this. And it's going to have to be discussed, but not tonight. The Cardinals get a W, 42-34, 2 pick sixes in the second quarter, one by Marco Wilson, one by Isaiah Simmons. In back-to-back series, Antonio Hamilton had an interception in the red zone earlier in the game. The Cardinals' defense looked good at times, great at times, and kind of listless and not that talented at other times. Byron Murphy had by far his worst game of the year. Got beat by Chris Olave a bunch. Juwan Johnson scored at least one touchdown on him. So, you know, it was kind of a clunky game a lot of the time. But when you look at what the Cardinals did well, that outweighs what the Cardinals didn't do so well. And it was being opportunistic, turning the ball over on the defensive side of the ball, and the run game shined. Keaontay Ingram looked good, late-round pick out of USC. Benjamin looks like an RB1. I'm going to do a segment this week debating with myself if the Cardinals should trade James Conner or try to trade James Conner. Is the running back room shore up enough with Darrell Williams, Keaontay Ingram, and Benjamin? I don't know the answer. It's not rhetorical, but I don't know the answer at this point. Kyler Murray looked fine. We'll talk about that. Came out of the blue medical tent towards the tail end of the game. You know, he got rolled up on a little bit twice. His ankle seemed to be hobbling him. He had a high ankle sprain week 7 Thursday Night Football last year that kind of hindered him, even though they didn't let it be as, pronounced and known as hobbled as he was last year, especially towards the second half of the season when the Cardinals started to struggle offensively. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms. Broad overview storylines here, and then I'll get into the particulars. Go deep into the second segment, offensive segment. The Cardinals get a W. They move to 3-4. The NFC West is gross. The NFC West is gross. The San Francisco 49ers, if you haven't seen it, just traded for Christian McCaffrey. They have a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth, I think. They don't have a pick in the top 150 in the 2023 draft. Okay, so we're starting to see the 49ers evolve into the Los Angeles Rams that we've known and loathed for the last handful of years, where they're like, F them picks, and The 49ers had they traded 3 first-round picks, I think, for Trey Lance. And they traded a second, third, fourth, and a fifth for Christian McCaffrey. So this is going to be the roster that they're going to be dealing with for the foreseeable future. But what does that mean for this season? Is Christian McCaffrey going to be able to make an impact with how hobbled he's been pretty much over the last 2.5 years? We'll see. But what the Cardinals have done, they've put themselves in a position to stay in the race for the NFC West. They've put themselves in a position to stay in the race for a playoff spot. 3-4 and 2-5 are vastly different spots. They're vastly different spots to be in. And what we saw tonight was there is from this team that we haven't necessarily seen so far this season. There's opportunity on the defensive side of the ball. Now, sure, one throw off Andy Dalton went off Marcus Callaway's dome piece and just fell into Marco Wilson's hands, and he went, wee, and went into the end zone. But the defense looked pretty good, and that's what you want the defense to look like. You want them to look pretty good, and you want the offense to look very good. So, broad stroke overview, the Cardinals put up 42 points as a team. That's good. Against any NFL team, that's good. That means that the Cardinals can score points. They've been at a premium up to this point in the season. They can score points. That's a good thing. And we saw it on national TV, on Amazon, Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, with a little Taylor Swift innuendo there. Or not innuendo. Well, I don't know. Whatever it is. A little vignette, I guess you could say. But all in all, the Cardinals look fine tonight. And they won. That's it. That's the broad stroke. I'm going to talk about the defense next. I'm going to talk about the offense in the third segment. Thanks for hanging on this live post-game podcast. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Coming up next, the defense under a microscope. Did the defense save the day for the Cardinals, or would the offense have caught up at some point? We'll talk about it next. First, I'm excited to talk about our friends over at SimpliSafe. Okay. SimpliSafe is so put it this way. Let's picture it like this. When you have your house that you need to protect, okay? SimpliSafe, think of it as, well, first of all, it's the best home security of 2022. It was voted by US News. Okay? 3 of my favorite things: football, and saving money. So let's talk about saving money with SimpliSafe Home Security. They love it. I love it. You'll love it. Because at SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. Okay, with 24/7 professional monitoring, when a threat is detected, SimpliSafe's monitoring professionals promptly contact you and dispatch first responders to your home, even if you're away or unable to respond. 24/7 professional monitoring costs under $1 a day. That's less than half the cost of ADT's traditional professional installed plans. SimpliSafe blankets your home with protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and often threats or other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority policy dispatch or police dispatch, and that's a policy of theirs. Don't miss this chance to save big when you protect your home with the best. Get 40% off your order when you visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl today. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Go today. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. And the Cardinals defense kept the team as a whole safe today with a victory, 42-34 over the New Orleans Saints on a weird Thursday night game. And excuse the camera work right now. I'm trying to fix it. The defense really set the stage in the second half when they needed wasn't doing much. They had to settle for 2 field goals. And then out of nowhere, out of absolutely nowhere, you get 2 pick sixes in 2 series by Marco Wilson and Isaiah Simmons, respectively, and that changed the trajectory of the game. Midway through the first quarter, you're like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. seemed very similar to what we had experienced from the Cardinals so far this season in the first quarter. And then the defense, they gave the spark to the Cardinals offense that the team as a whole needed. And they were gifted 2 touchdowns. And then also, saving a touchdown earlier on in the game with Antonio Hamilton intercepting Andy Dalton in the end zone. Like, the defense was able to shift the trajectory of the game, which gave, less pressure to the Cardinals offense to perform and put up points. And then they ended up scoring. Greg Dortch got a touchdown pass. Keaontay Ingram got in the end zone. And this was a team effort, 1-53, both sides of the ball. And this is the first time this year where both teams throughout the entirety of the game were able to pick up the slack for the other. Putting up 42 points, once again, in an NFL game is a big deal regardless of opponent. Byron Murphy didn't look great. That's okay. He's allowed one. The rest of the team took advantage, took care of business. Jalen Thompson reminded people that he's a bruiser. He's an absolute bruiser. Budda Baker, great plays today. Zaven Collins, when you don't hear defensive players' names for getting burned, that means they're at least doing their job adequately. Zaven Collins did that today. Zach Allen continues to be a terror behind the line of scrimmage. Looked good. J.J. Watt had a near sack on Andy Dalton midway through the game. He looked fine. Marcus Golden is nowhere to be found in the pass rush. Cam Thomas caused one of the interceptions. Like, that's kind of the smorgasbord of players and what they did today. Marco Wilson was the most polarizing of all of them, where he got burned for the first 53-yard touchdown play, for the first 53-yard touchdown pass by Andy Dalton, and then he, vindicated that with his pick 6. So when we're looking at broad stroke overview of what this means for the long run for the Cardinals defense, I don't know. You could take it 2 different ways. One, well, this is just a different variation of what Cardinals defense has shown. They gave up more points than they normally do, but they also had 2 pick 6s, which negated the extra points that they gave up more than they have over the last handful of weeks. Or you could say we saw weakness tonight that was covered up by 2 pick 6s by the defense. And I don't know which is correct. I don't know which is right. And we're going to find out. What we do know is the defense has been stable. They've given up 23 or less points from weeks 2 through week 6. Cardinals won today, gave up a 34-burger, but you kind of take it because it was a victory. It was on national TV, and this game was just wild. So I don't know, and I'll talk about this more about the offense as well because we haven't even mentioned DeAndre Hopkins yet. I don't know if this was just a weird one-off or if the Cardinals are going to be able to replicate some form of this in week 8 against Minnesota. I'm not looking ahead to that yet, but that's kind of creeping into my head. It's like this game kind of felt like when the Cardinals started 7-0 last year. It's like, is it real? It feels real. It looks real, but is it real? Are we wearing a virtual reality, goggles? Or is this something that we're going to be able to see in some form or fashion from the Cardinals moving forward? Because we haven't seen it up to this point. Are we going to be able to see it afterwards? I don't know. But what I do know is the defense changed the trajectory of this game with the 2 pick 6s, Marco Wilson and Isaiah Simmons, not to mention Antonio Hamilton's interception in the end zone earlier in the game. Cardinals get a victory. It wasn't pretty, but the defense showed flashes of brilliance and was able to change where this game was going. And if it wasn't for that, I'm not sure if the Cardinals would have won that game. And that's something that we need to appreciate here as we're on here on the post-game podcast, Locked On Cardinals. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Leave a like here. Turn the notifications on. If you haven't joined me during my Twitter Spaces pregame and the halftime shows, do that. Start a Twitter account. Make a Twitter account. Use a junk email. You can follow me on Clancy's Corner or not. I'm not doing it for the follows, but join me. There's another community there. I'm trying to fuse these all together. Coming up next, the offense, DeAndre Hopkins. It's like he never left. We'll talk about it. We'll spotlight it next here, Locked On Cardinals. BetOnline.net. So I'm an idiot. The over-under on BetOnline for this game was, I believe, 44.5. And I said, where are you going to find 45 points? Well, the Cardinals almost did that on their own. The Cardinals were 2.5-point favorites. They covered. BetOnline.net has you covered. It's your source for football, start of the new basketball season, Major League Baseball playoffs. It's your number one source for all of it. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. I also am super excited to talk about our friends over at mysolarnerd.com. Mysolarnerd.com, they're a local business. They're a solar company. And I'll tell you what, because they don't live out of state, like some companies that have been offering free solar, the truth is that many of those companies aren't local. And because of that, they're using misleading tactics and end up overcharging homeowners. If you've considered solar but something felt off, then you're going to love mysolarnerd.com. Their mission is simple: help you get the best solar system to fit your needs. The guys at mysolarnerd.com are local and understand the nuances of going into solar in Arizona. They've been doing this for a long time and understand that educated customers are happy customers. Their no-pressure approach will make sure all your questions get answered. And once you're ready, they'll put their industry knowledge to work for you by choosing the best equipment, warranties, and Better Business Bureau accredited installers. Our listeners will get a $50 Amazon gift card when they book a no-commitment evaluation. This promotion is only for our listeners that are homeowners. Keep that in mind. Visit mysolarnerd.com and select Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us section. Make the switch to solar on your terms. Start your research process by visiting mysolarnerd.com today and show Locked On some love by letting them know we sent you. Folks, going solar doesn't need to be complicated. mysolarnerd.com makes it easy. Cardinals win. Cardinals win. Cardinals win. 42-34. 2 pick sixes sparked the game, the wake-up call for the Arizona Cardinals after looking listless again on offense in the first quarter. Take a 28-14 lead at halftime. Tack on some scores after. Talked about the defense, Marco Wilson, Isaiah Simmons. Pick sixes. Tony Hamilton interception in the end zone. DeAndre Hopkins was back. And he looked like he never left, just like you expected. I think he had 14 or 15 targets. Had a handful of catches, 100 yards. DeAndre Hopkins. You can just walk off the bus and be DeAndre Hopkins. So, let me do this first. Benjamin gets his flowers. Keaontay Ingram gets his flowers. Benjamin looks like an RB1, okay? He looks like an RB1, and it begs the question, are we gonna have a conversation about should the Cardinals trade James Conner? We're not going to do that now. We're going to celebrate the victory. Benjamin looks like an RB1. Keaontay Ingram looks good. Looks good. He looks like he fit the offense. Fine. Arizona animal. Fine. When put in this position, he is definitely capable of taking RB1 carries and producing like it. I stand corrected. 100% stand corrected. Greg Dortch scores a touchdown pass. All right? Fine. You get me again. Will I stand on the Rondale Moore hill that he's better than Greg Dortch? For now. We can do an agree to disagree and just not talk about it again, which is probably the best of all worlds if they both continue to produce. If the offense is just unlocked because DeAndre Hopkins is on the field, sweet. If this is the start of the onslaught from the offense, sweet. And I've said this before the season started, and I'll continue to say it now. If the Cardinals are going to win, say, 10 games, I'd much rather it be this way. I'd much rather it be this way, where they go, 2-4, 3-4, 4-4, 4-5, 5-5, 6-5, 7-5, 7-6, 8. Like really have to win every game and not just get a head start. Sure, they deserve those victories that they got, whatever, when they started 7-0. But it's kind of a misnomer. It's not a true determining factor on how good the team is when every ball bounces their way like it did during the beginning of last season. Not to take away anything from guys, but winning it like this is the blue-collar way to do it. It's how the Steelers do it. It's how the Steelers get to 10 wins every year. They never go on more than a 1 or 2 game winning streak, and they just win when they need to stay afloat. And then you can make a push, get to 10 wins, potentially win the division, make the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. This is going to teach the Arizona Cardinals team resolve by winning and losing games in the way that they do throughout the season. One off, one on, one win, one loss, 2 wins, 1 loss, whatever. I'd much rather it happen this way. So DeAndre Hopkins just walks in and is DeAndre Hopkins. Feels good. 10 catches, 103 yards. Ho-hum. 10 catches, 103 yards. Ho-hum. Eno Benjamin, 12 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Ho-hum. Like, if this is the new iteration of the Arizona Cardinals, cool. Who cares? I've said this a bunch, and I'll continue to say it. If this is your first time listening to Locked On Cardinals, thank you. I'll give you a little, just reminder, or, I'll catch you up here. I don't care if the Cardinals run the ball 40 times and win. Like, just because Kyler Murray got paid a whole bunch of cheese doesn't mean they have to throw the ball 40 times. I just figured that with James Conner out, Darrell Williams out, that they're going to have to throw the ball that much to be able to stay afloat. But if they can run the ball like they have, do it. Flip and do it. And, there are things like, I was harsh on Cliff today. Wasted timeouts during opportune times where they could have used that elsewhere. But 4 penalties for 20 yards. That's a big deal. 4 penalties for 20 yards. That's good. That's a good night. Kyler Murray only threw for 189 yards. It's a weird game. But stats don't matter. It's not about the stats. It's about the cohesion. It's about the adapting. And it's about putting up points. I don't care how it happens. Nobody cares how it happens. Kyler Murray doesn't have to have MVP numbers just because he got paid a lot of money. If he's the winning quarterback for a winning team, that's all that people are going to care about. And he was today. Didn't look great. Had some great balls that he threw down the field. DeAndre Hopkins, if he can unlock this offense, sky's the limit. We'll see. Cardinals get a weird win, 42-34 Thursday Night Football. Have 10 days off until they go to Minnesota, Twin Cities, and take on the Minnesota Vikings. I will be talking with you on Monday. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Enjoy the win. Enjoy some football this weekend. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Free and available on all platforms. Now make sure to make Peacock and Williamson your second listen. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson, they do a great job. Monday through Friday, national stories, free and available on all platforms and on YouTube. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll talk to you Monday.